Welcome to a live episode of Amazin But True. The Mets are victors, so everyone's happy. The live episode of Amazin But True. It's presented by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Visit your Cadillac showroom today. Give it up for Cadillac.
Cadillac.
Outside, we have a Cadillac CT4V that you don't want to miss. It's a bold, high-performance vehicle with a twin 3.6-liter turbocharged V6 engine. This performance sedan also features driver mode selector technology, hands-free Super Cruise, and an 8kg surround sound audio system. So shout out to your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. And a lot of big words that I just read.
He has no idea what that means. None.
I will now read no words more than 2 syllables for the rest of the show. Jake Brown here. Give it up for me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Former Mets pitcher. Now you can see him on Pix 11 every night. Nelson Figueroa. Give it up for Figgy.
My peoples. My peoples.
Producer Andrew Hartz. Give it up.
Andrew.
If you ever want to see a local drummer, Andrew Hartz is your guy. If you need a drummer for your bar mitzvah, Sweet 16 for your child, or any sort of special event, he is available for hire. And the intern, Nick Guzman. Give it up for him. Nick Guzman, a Fordham product where they produce great broadcasters. Not as good as Hofstra, of course, but second to us. But we are here at EBBS Brewing Co. Thanks to EBBS. We have a couple slices of pizza if anyone wants. Whatever cannoli and cupcakes we have left.
And cannolis, yeah.
Shout out to our good people in the suites for those. And we are here outside Citi Field after a Mets victory. Let's give it up for the Mets.
And they said it couldn't be done.
They said they couldn't win a game. Well, they won a game. It has happened. History. It's like the miracle on ice. The Mets win a baseball game, and by God, it was ugly. I mean, it went 10 innings. We had a rain delay. It's, death, taxes, and unfitting live podcast after a long-ass game.
True.
But we're here, Figgy, and, they had a win. So while it wasn't pretty, they had to win a game.
Yeah, they had a win, and it was a big win, right? There was several things that had to happen. Verlander had to show up, and he did that, right?
Finally.
He went toe-to-toe with Cole. You saw him masterful. Gave up the 1 run, but other than that, we saw the Verlander that they hoped they had when they signed him. So it was good to see that finally after Scherzer debacle yesterday. They needed him to step up in a major way, and he did that. However, it wasn't without you not only biting your nails, but cursing at this team yet again, because there seems to always be an inning where the wheels just fall off. And it's not guys that you haven't heard of or rookies that are overmatched. But we saw some of the worst base running yet again from Brandon Nimmo. So that would have been 2 nights in a row that he ruined it for the Mets. One on a catch that he should have caught. And then this one, of course, overrunning the base, being uber aggressive instead of picking up his coach at third base and realizing he killed a rally with his legs yet again. So while there were good things and all's well that ends well, there's still a lot left to be desired. The bullpen at least held pat and gave these guys a chance to win it and with a walk-off in the 10th.
Yeah, it almost feels like they lost. Like, there were so many situations. Like, Nimmo, how do you not look? Nimmo was basically at third base. Did you think that blue jersey was like a fan on the field? Like it was Johan's no-hitter and that fan got on the field? Like, what the hell are you doing not looking up there? I'm curious how the hell that happened. But listen, he made up for it, Figgy, with the big hit. And, Hartz was talking about it. It was interesting. Nimmo is much better against lefties than righties this year. And Aaron Boone brought in a lefty. That's a situation normally lefty-lefty. That's, Luis Rojas draws that up on his robotic script a couple of years ago. But it didn't work out, and it helped the Mets. But usually you put a lefty in there.
Yeah, remember, Luis Rojas is over there. Maybe he told him, hey, bring in the lefty here.
Yeah.
Nimmo
Thanks,
sucks.
Luis.
Nimmo sucks against lefties. Why? Because you never let him hit against lefties. But it's a different day and age for Brandon Nimmo when it comes to hitting lefties. He stays in there a lot better. He knows what he's trying to do up there. He's not trying to do too much. Did more than enough when he hit that fly ball deep to right field. It wasn't playable and it bounces off the wall. Escobar just barely scores. Imagine if he would have got thrown out right there.
I didn't think he was going to score. The way the Mets are going.
Holy cow. Nothing could have been worse if Escobar gets thrown out at home plate right there. But as I said, all's well that ends well. There's just fundamental things that we see going wrong. In that one inning, that everything that could go wrong did go wrong. It was a Little League inning. We were joking about it up in the suite.
He stole home. The only other time that happened, Roger Cedeno. I was at that game in 2002 at Yankee Stadium.
I was going way back to Jackie Robinson. It was the last time I saw somebody steal home. It was pitiful to think that a major league pitcher in this day and age was blindsided by this. And I was telling Hartz earlier, I said, there's a technique that we were taught since we were kids. If there's a man trying to steal home, hit the batter. You hit the batter. What happens? Everybody has to go back. He goes to first.
He almost did hit him.
That's the worst that could happen. I don't know if he was aiming for him, but more so that it looked like he was shocked that the guy was running on him. Guys have scouting reports. Teams have scouting reports. It's IKF, for God's sakes. It's not Volpe, the fastest runner. It was a guy who realized, you know what? I'm going to try and take advantage. And especially in that situation, it's reeks of desperation, but it worked, right? It got them the run that they needed, and you sat back going, no, this can't possibly happen, right? This is how it's going to go down. Like, it wasn't bad enough yesterday. If you would have told me 5-run lead and Max Scherzer on the mound, done deal, right? You take that bet all day, every day. And to see that inning spiral on him, and you look at his line, and he's only thrown 3.1 innings and given up 6 runs, that you can't even imagine. I get it, and we talk about this as people who get to make commentary in hindsight. For a player, there is no worse feeling than you can't stop something like that from happening. You're always one pitch away, and he can't do it. And you're somebody who's done it for 17 years, and you can't get it done in the biggest element, especially against the Yankees in that situation. You know nobody feels worse than he does. But I think you see Scherzer, you saw Verlander step up, like I said, and now it just has to be a little bit more from each guy. The hits have to keep coming. Lindor has to wake up a little bit more. Guys have to find a way, because we're not really sure when Pete's coming back.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be back till around the All-Star break, to be honest. I don't see it happening anytime before the 4th of July. I know he's trying. The Mets aren't going to rush him, because if he re-injures his hand, the Mets are screwed. They need him back in this lineup badly. And, they're getting production. Tommy Pham is like the heart and soul of the Mets right now. Like, give it up for Tommy Pham.
Somebody's got to step up.
What is good Pham? Like, he is
Somebody's
killing it.
Somebody's got to step up.
I was at the game a few weeks ago with a good friend of his, and she was the only one in the history of Metsland to have a shirt with his face on it. And since then, he's been going off. So shout out to Tommy Pham. But that's a problem. That is a big problem. One of the heart soul of the lineup is Tommy Pham. And when Francisco Lindor is batting 210, 200, like, these guys are going to pick it up with Pete out, because if the starters are going to be this bad, you're going to have to score more than the other. I think that's how baseball works.
There's just too many things that are going wrong, right? Drew Smith walking into the game and getting thrown out before he even throws a pitch, that's a huge thing, because Drew Smith was already rattled. We knew this about Drew Smith. If you look at Drew Smith on the season, throwing his fastball, the league is batting $150 against his fastball, but he chooses to keep throwing his slider, which the league is batting over 800 against. His curveball, they're batting 1,000 off his curveball. I don't know a lot of math, but I do know that's not good math. So use your fastball more. Pitch to contact the way that he was doing. He was getting ground balls and weak fly balls. But for some reason, he went out there. And listen, in my heart of hearts, do I think he had something extra on there? I don't know. But I can tell you this. I know I'm struggling. My slider's not sliding. The breaking ball's not breaking. You got to do something a little bit extra. And what happens is he goes in there with maybe a little extra something from the bullpen, grab the rosin right before he finishes. It's fresh on his hands. He goes out there. You're going to throw 8 warm-up pitches. It wears off a little bit, every one of those pitches, right? But they checked them before, and they don't normally do that, right? They're trying to be a little more random with it. And I think that was the big surprise to everybody. It was like, he didn't even throw a pitch. Why are you checking him? Because they're trying to make it a little bit more random. It happened to Herman when he got his suspension. It was in between innings that they checked him, which he came out of the dugout after he has his own rosin bag in the dugout, and they let him know that's a no-no. You can't do that. So the Mets have been tagged for it. 4 of the 5 suspensions this year have been Mets. 2 in the big leagues, 2 in the minor leagues in AAA that have been suspended for 10 games for the rosin. So something's got to give. Buck Showalter had complained. Well, he didn't complain. He just said he knows math because he was taught math by Mrs. Little when he was a kid. And it just doesn't add up that it's always Mets players that are being suspended. So they're being watched very closely. And when somebody like Scherzer gets suspended and doesn't fight it, who's Drew Smith to try and fight that suspension? He's just going to have to wear that one. And, they're going to be watching him from here on out.
Yeah, Drew Smith's suspension actually helps the Mets because he sucks. They're actually in better shape, so take a vacation. go hit up a few more SI models that you're not going to get with and call it a day.
Oh, don't be a hater. Stop being a hater. That was awful.
Listen,
what?
He should not have a big role in this team, and no role. No role. That's right. Joel knows back there.
He never
Joel,
lied.
right? I always say Joel.
Yes.
Joel. Joel. You never know without the accent. With the accent,
No, it's
Joel.
still Joel.
Joel, yeah. Joel.
Not Joel.
Joel. Yeah.
Does he look like Billy Joel?
He's not performing for one final time next summer at Madison Square Garden. By the way, he's going to end up going to Long Island and doing a residency there and making millions of dollars. Or he can just retire because he's filthy rich. And speaking of someone who's filthy rich, Steve Cohen has fired out a tweet. That was a crazy game. Too many mental mistakes, but I will take it.
A win is a win.
Steve Cohen sounded off a little bit there. And, Hart's mentioned it like, we have not seen yet the wrath of Steve Cohen. This team's 4 games under 500. They're a bad baseball team right now, but we know they're better than this. Mm-hmm. We got to see here these next 7 weeks what Steve Cohen does, who gets canned, if anyone, who gets cut,
Nobody.
What trades they make, what do they do? Are they actually buyers? Do they go for Alexis Diaz? What do they do? But this is, gut check time for Steve Cohen. What is he going to do here?
Well, if you read what Joel Sherman was the one who reported it, the interview he had with him, right? And he talked about how he was going to reevaluate everybody in the offseason, that during the season wasn't the right time. There's ups and downs, ebbs and flows, and you're supposed to kind of roll with the punches. This is the same guy that in 2019, I believe it was, legitimately called out the whole team and their hitting and said that, I believe on-base percentage matters. I believe, batting average matters. Playing small ball matters. And this is not acceptable for professional hitters. He went out and said that, and he really alienated himself from the team. And it's, again, an owner who can say what he wants. But again, if you don't say it to the team to their face and you put it out in social media, it's a bad look for the whole organization. So he's learned from that situation, right? And so he sat back and he's been dealing with a lot, and there's a lot to deal with. There's a lot of things that he can say. There's a lot of things that he can do. Could he have a gut reaction and fire Buck Showalter just to send a message? I mean, he could technically fire the hitting coach, right? Because they're not getting it done hitting more so than anything. He could technically fire the pitching coach or the bullpen coach because the bullpen's not getting it done. So he can do a lot of different things. But he was trying to do is show a little bit of patience because there's still a lot of baseball left to play. And you don't necessarily have to win the division to have a chance to win the World Series. We saw the Phillies sneak in last season at the end, and this Mets team is a lot better than that Phillies team was last year.
Jake Brown, Nelson Figueroa, Amazin But True podcast at EBBS Brewing Co. outside Citi Field. We got a nice crowd here of people who stay up late, either don't have work in the morning or are going to go late. Comedy of errors in this game. Weird weather today. People were texting me like, "Do you think they play?" I'm like, I am not Al Roker. I'm on the weather app doing the hourly report, AccuWeather. I don't have the weather, inside scoops on the weather. But they did play a 30-minute delay, not too bad. But the game, right after I said a Hearts, I'm like, wow, this game's cruising. 6 inning, hour and 45 minutes. 2 hours later, we are here at the strike of midnight, coming up on the midnight hour of the Amazin But True podcast. We're going to give away shirts, do some trivia in a couple of minutes here. Daniel Vogelbach, I guess, just needed a mental health week and a mental health waste of a roster spot.
That's exactly it.
I mean, what's going on here? Does Daniel Vogelbach have pictures of Buck Showalter? What is happening? Why is he on this roster? And why does he get a whole, the Mets were better off with him not hitting, but why are they wasting a roster spot for a guy who can't hit and needs a mental break? This is baseball. This isn't, the circus here.
Well, listen, the mental breaks that have been done for quite some time where you got to give guys, 3-4 days. You gave him a week, and there were situations like yesterday's game where you want your left-handed power hitter to have a chance to tie the game or win the game, and he wasn't even available. They didn't even have him in the on-deck circle or anything. So it's very concerning, or I think complacent, to have Daniel Vogelbach just being on the team. Now, granted, everyone that I spoke to, every one of the players that I spoke to, they love Vogelbach as a teammate. He's a great teammate. They love his energy. He brings it every day. And he understands that he's failing at most of the things that he's doing right now, but he's still trying to work hard. He's still trying to be productive. Having said that, I don't care. There's got to be a better option somewhere, anywhere. Signing Luke Voigt to a contract is a little something because you know that this guy can hit. He's hit at the major league level. And he's done it at various stages of his career. He actually led all of baseball in home runs. And when was that? The COVID year. He led all of baseball in home runs. So this guy can hit. He can do it, and he's done it at the major level as a DH. So I could see him kind of just getting ready and getting prepared to take over that Vogelbach job. I don't know if he's going to be around when we get to the All-Star break. And
I hope not.
Listen, this team needs to make moves to get better. That's a huge move. Luis Guillorme being up. Lindor has played in every single game. I know we're complaining about Lindor, but he's always accountable. He's there in front of the media. He owns up to when he's failing. And at the same time, he's, telling you that he's going to be better. It's not easy when you're trying to do it every single day and you're practicing twice as hard as you're playing. And then at the end of the day, you're still coming up short. And yet he still has a smile on his face and is still trying to be the face of the franchise, especially, in the wake of Pete not being here. So I still tip my cap to Lindor for dealing with everything that he's dealt with since day one. The money is one thing, but the level of attention to every single thing that he does wrong is above and beyond. When he does things right, because listen, if you look at baseball right now, and I did this yesterday, he's 6th in baseball. Of all shortstops, he's 6th in baseball in WAR, which means he's still doing something right. We look there and we're like, oh, he's 210, he sucks. But he also has 14 home runs and almost 50 RBIs. Okay, so while he's not a perfect or even close to what we thought we were getting when we signed a guy who was a 280, 30 home runs, 100 RBIs, and doing with those kinds of things, he's dealing with a lot and still comes to the ballpark every day and gives you everything he has. Even if it's a swing and miss, he gives it to you with everything that he has. So I commend him for that. It's just when you see him and a lack of other guys in that offense, it's tough to watch this Mets team because it seems like inevitable that they're going to lose because they can't score runs.
Yeah, one guy who's lacking because he's not here is doing pretty well in stay classy San Diego. Carmen San Diego. Is it Diego? What does he say?
Carmen San Diego.
It's Diego. Does Ron Burgundy say Diego?
Yes.
He says Diego, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's been a while. 6 homers in 14 games for El Gary. I mean, and then you kept Tomas Nido, and he's gone a week later. You want to talk about a team that needs bats? Not saying Gary Sanchez was going to be a savior, but you gave him 6 whole at-bats.
We've seen that before, though. 6
at-bats to keep Tomas Nido,
Travis d'Arnaud. We did that to Travis d'Arnaud years ago.
Yeah, but
Remember
they gave him chances.
No. Travis d'Arnaud came back from the Tommy John, and they gave him almost the same exact thing, right? You remember that? It was very minimal at bats. We're talking maybe a teen amount of at bats, and they let him go. And
but they had seen him a year or two prior. It's not like he got nothing before that.
But he was a good offensive catcher that, listen, the team had worked with. It's difficult to let a guy go who has worked with this team and has handled this pitching staff.
Figgy, to keep Tomas Nido, who can't hit a lick,
I didn't say Nido.
And get rid of Gary, and now seeing Gary just hit a homer every day
with Gary
is infuriating.
But that would
you agree with that move?
Well, it looks like it as of now, but if it's the only home runs that he hits the whole season, then I'm still okay with it. You know what wouldn't have happened if he was in a Met uniform?
Nido! We're not talking about Yogi Berra! It's Tomas Nido!
Yes, he was signed to an extension. You can't just...
Oh, God.
That's why he's still here.
6 homers in 2 weeks. I mean... It is Mike Jacobs when he started his Mets career. It's unbelievable.
John Buck that year when he started
John
off on fire.
Freaking Buck.
Remember that?
Talking about a blast from the past. Here's the good news. Steven Nagasuk is off the team. That's good.
You just wanted to say that name. It's unbelievable.
No good luck, Nagasuk. He's elected free agency. He is gone, so that's a good thing. Another arm the Mets could add back, Alicia Hernandez in that Jeff Brigham deal. Side discomfort during rehab, so he's on the shelf now. And a question we had from Ali D in the audience is, what does this team do at the deadline? You got to get relievers. You need arms. You need at least 2 arms.
At least 2 arms.
You need 2 arms to live. Some people have been on the Maury show with just 1.
That's not right, Jake. Don't discriminate.
I like those episodes, but I feel bad for them. Anyway. Where do I go from there?
We're live.
Live. Saturday night. It's a Wednesday night, Ebbs. What do? Do you go out and go get Edwin's brother and then have Kenny G saxophone as he walks in and have that be the entrance music? Do you go out and get elite reliever, whether that's trade Alexi Ramirez, trade a Parada, Or, you know, do you play it safe and get like a guy in the scrap, like a Dominic Leone type of guy?
There's so many ways you can go with that, right? It depends what you're willing to give up. And the earlier that you hit the market, the more you're going to have to give up. So it's not a situation. Think about it this way, right? The most attractive reliever out there right now has played in New York before, is left-handed, and is back to throwing 104 miles an hour. Could you imagine if you could add him to the bullpen? But what's that going to cost you? Because the Royals are not just going to give him away for free. The Royals are one of the smartest teams in baseball because they signed him for nothing, brought him in there with the idea that if he just recovers a little bit of it, we could trade him away and get something for him. So they're going to want something big. So it might cost you an Alexi Ramirez. It might cost you 2 or 3 guys of that nature for a 1-year rental. And is this team in a position to have him for a 1-year rental? You know, if you think you have a chance, not just to go for it, but to make the playoffs, just to get in, just to get your foot in the door, and then have him in that comfortable situation. We know he can handle the pressure of pitching in New York. He's back to having elite stuff again. So I think it's worth it. It shows the fan base that you think that you're going to go for it. But I think this whole thing revolves around Pete and where's this team at in 2 weeks.
That reliever you're talking about is involved with Chapstick. It's Aroldis Chapman. I believe that's the guy you're talking about.
Chapman.
I heard Chapstick could give you cancer, someone told me. I'm like, what can't give you cancer?
And you're still using it.
I mean, whatever.
What is wrong with you?
I've had 4 Diet Cokes today. That's worse for me than
even
Chapstick.
better. You're just testing fate, huh?
I'm convinced Diet Coke has crack in it. It's unbelievable. Like, Diet Coke is just unbelievable. Like, we need to get them as a sponsor one day.
Because they need a sponsor.
Amazin But True podcast. The Mets are 32-36 as the Cardinals come to town. You know, the Cardinals have been terrible. It's weird.
We complain about the Mets. The Cardinals are the worst team in baseball.
27-42 right now.
The worst team in baseball with the highest expectations.
Well, the third worst. The A's and Royals are worse. But yeah.
Were you expecting the A's and Royals to be anything? No. So the Cardinals were supposed to be division leaders, right? And it's just nothing has materialized for the Cardinals. They can't seem to get out of their own way. So it's perfect timing. The Mets need a team like this to jump on top of if they can only win at least 2 out of 3. Again, when you're at home, you're supposed to win 2 out of 3. So we'll see if they can do that.
They got to. And a lot of teams, their relief is coming to play the Mets. So this could be their relief to turn it around. They got to get this thing going because you felt the SNY Part 2 the 5 days in Flushing when the Tampa Bay Miracle Series, then the sweep over the weekend. It felt like it was turning around. And now they're playing like dog duty. And I hope this starts something.
How does dog duty play?
The dog duty plays bad. No, who likes stepping in dog duty? Who likes cleaning up dog duty?
That's playing with dog duty.
I don't like putting the duty in the bag and then you got to find a local garbage to throw it out. Anyways, I got ADD kicking in here. All right, Figgy, Subway Series is over. Let's just recap it quick. Mets split. Yankees are banged up. Mets are banged up. Mets are 4 games under 500. Are you confident this team turns it around here going into the weekend, or are we going to see the same old bad baseball?
No, listen, it's one of the things that you have during the season is that you have ups and downs, ebbs and flows, right? We saw this team be a 101-win team and not win the division last year. Throughout the whole season, they were the hunted. They were in first place. Everything was hunky-dory. And then they trailed off and failed miserably in the playoffs. So, flip it around. I'd rather they go through their struggles early. I'd rather you learn from those struggles. I'd rather guys that get hurt early, like Verlander didn't start out, Quintana didn't start out. Remember, you got Quintana coming back. Verlander and Max hit their stride. The second half of the season could be something special. The first half is nothing to write home about. Let's not try and candy coat it. Let's not try and make anything great about it. The only thing that was great about it was watching Pete Alonso go for the 63 home runs. He was on pace. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. But that does not mean that this team is not going to be able to raise their level. They need to stop playing to the level of their competition because they've had chances against an easy schedule to do some things, and yet they've come up short time and time again. Moves have to be made, right? This front office has to do something. You cannot keep churning out the same relievers and expecting different results. I don't care if Drew Smith uses sticky stuff or non-sticky stuff. He was having a terrible season. He was not the answer. He was being put in that class of pitcher of Ottavino and Robertson. He's not that. So you need to find someone who is that, someone you can count on in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning to help this team out. They need relief help. They need these starters to go a little bit deeper. They also need for this, the offense to find ways to scratch and claw and score runs. McNeil's hit yesterday was a thing of beauty. It was something I thought we were going to be able to, laugh about because it gave them that lead, and you thought that, they would never look back. But that's the problem, is that there's too few and far between in that situation. Marte striking out and Lindor striking out in a big situation, those things just can't happen, and I get it. It's tough. It's the major leagues, but at the same time, best pitches to hit were the ones that they struck out on. So I think this team can do it, without a doubt. I think this team is very capable, and I think to a man, this team wants to step up in a major way, and it's just going to take one of those, we saw it once when they won those 5 games in a row. Can they win 5 games in a row again? Yes, that needs to be the spark that happens to give these guys confidence again.
All right, my Father's Day weekend, Juneteenth weekend state of the Mets is this. 1, your $43 million pitchers cannot suck every other time. They have to have every 4 out of 5 outings, they got to be, 1 run, 7 innings, 6 innings. They got to be better. You can't have Scherzer blow a 5-1 lead. You can't have Verlander, his next start after this one, get rocked again. He's got to be better. This is $86 million. That is 25% of your payroll in 2 pitchers who have not been good. If they're not good, the season's over, plain and simple. 2, you need to get Daniel Vogelbach off this roster and get someone that can play on the roster, and that's Mauricio. I don't care, if he can't hit breaking balls, let's see it up here. He's hitting fastballs, and he's hitting a lot of other things. He's been tremendous. He needs to be here, and you have to see what you got in him, because if he's not going to be a guy on this team, he could be a trade piece, and he's doing nothing in the minors that's helping you right now. You need him on this roster. You need to send Vogelbach packing. Stop wasting roster spots. 3, the bullpen's got to step up. Listen, Adam Ottavino's got to be better. Brooke Raley's got to be trusted more. And when Drew Smith's come back, like you said, he can't suck. He's got to be better. And the Mets got to get an arm up. Give me Lavender. Give me McFarland. McFarland's been in the league for a decade. He's a journeyman. He's having a great year in the minors. Let me see what McFarland's got, because I don't want to see any more of these retreads out there blowing games or 5th, 6th inning. They need better bridge guys like Trevor Williams was for this team. And then, listen, Francisco Lindor, for the next 2 to 3 weeks, he can't hit 200. I'm sorry, brother. I don't care if you're showing up talking to the media. I don't care if you're playing great defense. You got to hit the baseball. You got to get on base 2 times every night when Pete Alonso's not here. And I like Lindor, and I don't think you should bench him. I like the trade. I like the signing. He's got to start hitting. You can't hold yourself accountable and not hit. You got to be able to do both. So he's got to hold his end of the weight and, start hitting above his weight, because he's, how much does he weigh? I don't even know. He's hitting 210. You got to be better. 160? Yeah, well, that's Vogelbach territory right there. So, yeah, he's got to do just a little bit. Yeah, Vogelbach weight, he'd be killing it right now. But I'm not one to talk. I'm 230 here. Anyways, Jake Brown, Nelson Figueroa. Follow us on Twitter, @Amazin But True, @Jake Brown Radio, @FiggyNY. Shout out to Andrew Hartz. Give it up for Andrew Hartz. Give it up for the intern, Nick Guzman.
Big Nickers.
Give it up for your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Visit your Cadillac showroom today. Give it up for EBBS Brewing Co. Give it up for all of you. Thank you for coming. I know it's a late night. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. Remember to subscribe to the New York Post Sports YouTube page. Watch all episodes there. Wherever you get podcasts, give us a nice rating and a nice review. And we will be back on Monday for a new episode. We haven't done one together in a while. You had 2 fill-ins while I was away.
No. I had
they were
2
fine.
really
they weren't
good
as good
hosts.
as me, but they were fine. They did a nice job. But
hey, Hearts, wasn't one of them the highest rated show we've done?
So far, the highest rated show on YouTube for the
most viewed.
Wally Pip, baby,
I made the headline for that show, so I'll take credit for the headline.
Did you hear him? I made the headline.
All right, shout out to
Real
Moose
hard.
for
Mets suck.
the most clicks on the episode. So good job there. I might get bounced by Mark Malusis. So there you go. Anyways, thanks everybody for coming out. We will talk to you Monday. Adios. Thanks for listening to Amazin But True. Ta-ta, Turbo Man.